The Death God's Daily Troubles by MagicalDucky. Chapter 1. Prison cells are way too hot during summer. Oh, the goddess of love's underground dungeon. Oh, scratch that. Modified basement. The soft sunshine radiated through the window, warming up my sleeping face as I groggily woke up to the cries of the birds cheerfully chirping outside. A moment passed before I slowly got up and stretched my arms out. The slight pain from my morning stretch resonated through my tired body, and after rubbing my eyes, I inadvertently let out a loud yawn before I once again confirmed my surroundings. But the familiar sight of the bleak stone walls surrounding my room, the cold metal bars to my right, and the small barrel window that let sunlight outside blast into my face like it was hitting me with a solar flare made me absolutely certain. Yep, I'm still in prison. I squinted a bit to stop the blinding sunlight from getting in my eyes and let out a deafened sigh as I looked around at my black and white striped inmate outfit for a moment before my sweaty and listless body slumped back down into the simple wooden bed I was sleeping in. I know I'm not in much of a position to complain, but prison cells are way too hot during the summer. Well, nothing I can do about the heat now. I looked over to the wall. There was a small clock that's been part of my oh-so-crazy home here since what seems like forever. It told me that it was about 10 a.m. 10 a.m. That means it should be about time for my friend to show up. Coincidentally, she's also my jailer. But let's just keep that to ourselves here. I just heard some footsteps coming down the stairs, which meant she should be showing up any second now. Hey, Kai, you awake yet? What greeted me after the familiar voice was the sound of another yawn and the sight of a cute girl walking down the stairs. She looked like she was around her late teens, with long, messy hair that had a light brown color to it, and eyes that gleamed a deep amber. Her outfit consisted of a pair of pink pajamas with white frills, and she was hugging a small purple pillow while rubbing her eyes drowsily. Oh, actually, before I forget, I should probably introduce ourselves. The young girl over there, who always oversleeps, lazes about shamelessly, all in her pajamas, all the time, and pushes off all her responsibilities to her assistant every day, is the current goddess of love, Eliza Stratus. And the depressed guy sitting in his prison cell while being slowly baked to death from the intense heat because he can't cast any magic to cool himself or even use an air conditioner because his application for one was rejected on multiple occasions due to budget constraints, is me, the current god of death, and prison inmate extraordinaire Kyle, or just Kai for short. And if you're wondering why I didn't tell you my last name, well, it's a long story involving a lot of murder, burning souls as fuel, and creating things that go directly against the world's natural laws, so I kind of don't want to get into that right now. All you need to know is that, for now, I don't have a last name. Well, I'm awake now. I let out another sigh and fluffed my pillow up a little before getting out of bed. Great! Then for breakfast today, I want to have my favorite, pancakes. Eliza walked over and unlocked the entrance to the cell, then took out a metal collar with a chain attached to it and clamped it around my neck. After backing up and taking another look at my current disheveled appearance, she held onto the other end of the chain and let out a light laugh. All right, onwards, Guy, to the kitchen. I know I've said this a million times already, but can't we go back to the other method we were using before? Just some rope tied around my waist was working fine before. Why did we have to upgrade? Yeah, well, the rope worked for me fine, but this way it's more fun for me. Well, so much for being my friend. This is just cruel and unusual punishment at this point. I'm seriously about to cry here. Eliza showed me a toothy grin and she let out another sigh, and we walked up to the stairs together. While she followed behind me and humming a tune, the kitchen was just around the corner of the entrance to the basement. And we walked in with gusto before we were greeted by another woman dressed in a white blouse and black pants. She had pointed ears and that signified her elven heritage, and her platinum blonde hair was tied into a ponytail, while a pair of glasses that gave her a mature, intellectual look covered her emerald green eyes. But despite how sophisticated her glasses made her look, the angry smile on her face right now was making her seem more scary than elegant. "Good morning, Kai." Eliza turned to hide behind me as the woman greeted me, but the jingling of the chain attached to my metal collar gave her away. "And exactly where have you been, Lady Eliza?" Eliza slowly edged out from behind me and gave Olivia a nervous smile as I whispered to her. Olivia's really angry this time. What did you do?" It looks like she found out about me skipping the blessing ceremony earlier this morning. I was sure that letting the high priest take care of everything would cover it up, but I guess not." Well, as you may have guessed by now, Olivia is the name of our goddesses of love's one and only assistant. They've been childhood friends since Eliza was still a mortal and hadn't ascended to the lesser god status yet. But honestly, I truly pity Olivia. She's always taken the role of Eliza's big sister, so even after hundreds of years, she's still stuck cleaning up after her messes. Now, speaking of which, I should probably explain the whole thing about being gods, too. You see, this world, Ias, is a world of swords and magic that looks like it came straight out of a JRPG. Ias was created by the goddess of creation, Gaia, who also took the role of the world Will. But shortly after creating this world, she fell into a deep slumber. So before she fell asleep, she used her power as the world Will to create 4 true gods that were absolutely loyal to her, held no free will, and would only operate to ensure the world's natural system didn't fall apart, along with countless divine sparks. These divine sparks were Gaia's gift to the children, a manifestation of her divine will, and also the key to becoming a god. Anyone who had a high enough mastery over one of the countless natural laws that governed this world, and was also lucky enough to obtain a divine spark, either through sheer dumb luck by finding one coincidentally, or through incredible strength by killing another god's true body and stealing their divine spark, could use it to ignite their own god fire and ascend into a god. These new gods were basically there to help Gaia and the 4 true gods ensure that everything was working smoothly, since beings that lacked free will, like the 4 true gods, would never be able to handle mortal affairs. However, the power of the world Will is nothing to laugh at, and using divine spark to ascend to godhood comes with some unintended consequences. When you ignite your own god fire, it replaces your soul. So, if your god fire ever goes out, that's it. You're gone for good. There's no reincarnation after that, since your soul is itself gone. And not only that, but when you ascend into a god, your physical body gets recreated using the natural laws. So as a result, your true body unconsciously bends the natural laws wherever it goes. But the soul part isn't really much of a problem, as long as you stay out of trouble, because you do live forever as a god. The real issue is the bending of the natural laws by a god's true body. Since the main dimensional plane of Ias wouldn't be able to handle that kind of abuse, the new gods decided to gather faith from their believers and use that power to create divine domains, personal dimensions where they can reside. So with the gods unable to personally interfere in the main plane, the solution they found was to create avatars that had limited power and send them down to the main plane instead of their main bodies. But creating avatars takes a lot of energy. And so, naturally, the new gods started fighting over believers. Though most of their fights over the believers were done through their heroic spirits, followers of a god, who are granted a portion of their god's power and eternal life in exchange for being at that god's service. Well, all the fighting eventually resulted in the current ranking system that the gods adopted once everything settled down. The world Will, Gaia, and the 4 true gods who received energy straight from Gaia were virtually invincible. They were at the top, while right under them were the high gods, who generally had enough believers and energy to create avatars, hire tons of heroic spirits, and maintain enormous divine domains. And finally, under the high gods were the lesser gods, newer gods that didn't have enough believers to create avatars or hire a lot of heroic spirits that usually had a small divine domain. Anyway, that's enough about the gods' ranking system for now. All you need to know is that Eliza, who's a relatively new goddess, was lucky enough to find a divine spark a while back and ascend into lesser godness. Unfortunately, she's naturally lazy, so after spending almost all of her power making her best friend Olivia her only heroic spirit and creating a small divine domain, she basically did nothing all day. And Olivia's constant efforts were that to keep Eliza barely afloat. Nowadays, she just sits in this small wood house in the middle of her tiny divine domain, while always just avoiding total debt. I mean, I know I'm not in the best of situations myself, but it's kind of sad, really. Wait, what? You want to know what rank a god I am? Well, let me tell you. You're probably thinking of the god of death sounds pretty important or high ranking, and you would be right. I, Kyle, the god of death, am a bona fide true god, in charge of the cycle of reincarnation for all living souls in the world of Aeus. And, technically, eliminating any threat to Gaia, but considering my current circumstances, that part of my responsibilities has basically been relegated to the high gods. Now, if you're wondering why this is that I still have free will if I'm a true god, or what I'm doing here locked up in the basement of a lesser god's home, once again, it's a long story. Well, to start with, why I still have free will. Truth is, I'm not even originally from the world of Aeus. Long story short, a long time ago, I was summoned from Earth, along with my best friend, Kazuki, by the Church of the Light, which of course worshipped the God of Light, a current high god. Unfortunately, I was kind of an unwanted extra, since their original intention was to only summon Kazuki as a hero from another world to fight the demon lord running rampant at the time. And so, Kazuki was the only one blessed with an ability to use mana by the God of Light. In the beginning, I tried my best to keep up with him despite being manaless, but eventually our circumstances changed, and we subsequently set foot on a separate path. He went off to fight the demon lord while I was left behind because I was manaless. But, due to a lot of murder and some methods I'm currently legally obligated not to disclose, I gained the ability to use mana and got really, really strong. Like, strong enough to kill a few gods. Also, due to reasons I'm personally not willing to disclose, I kind of had to become the god of death to do something. And so, after a long and arduous journey, I ended up using some of more methods that I am once again legally obligated not to disclose. To kill the former true god of death and steal his divine spark to light my own god fire. But then I finally got the divine spark. Since I wasn't a creation of Gaia, I didn't receive any power from her, even as a genuine true god. And right after my ascension, I had my mana and god fire sealed by Kazuki when he and the rest of the gods banded together to stop me. So, after I got caught, the rest of the true gods had to decide what to do with me since they couldn't just kill me, or they would risk throwing the whole reincarnation system out of whack. So they made me swear an oath that I would never teach another person any of my methods I used to kill one of the true gods. Since the world will had never accounted for the fact that one of the seemingly invincible true gods connected to her would actually die, and subsequently there was no system set up for a replacement, in case it happened. Naturally, the gods decided that someone would have to keep me under surveillance too, so nobody wanted to take me, since they would also have to take responsibility for me in case I did anything while I was under their watch. And after that, what I did, nobody trusted that I would just stay docile. Now, I won't go into detail about how I almost cried when nobody said they wanted me, but eventually Eliza, who had just ascended into goddessness about a month ago at the time, made a bold decision to take up the role of my jailer, a decision which may or may not have been slightly influenced by the promised yearly reward of some money and faith energy from the other high gods for watching me. And that, coincidentally, is the only thing keeping her divine domain barely out of debt nowadays. And so I became somewhat of an abused butler, a helpful housemate around Eliza's place, and the position of the true god of death was basically left empty, along with the reincarnation system being set to autopilot. Well, that's enough of that. Too much exposition makes my brain hurt, so I'd rather see just how Eliza gets out of this situation again. Eliza turned to Olivia with her nervous smile on her face. Look, Olivia, how about we just discuss this later? I heard Kyle's making your favorite breakfast for today. Olivia's anger seemed to simmer down slightly when she heard I was making her favorite for breakfast today, and the glint in her eye grew a little softer as she looked towards me for confirmation. Really? We're having omelets today? Well, actually, Eliza said she wanted Eliza pulled on the metal collar firmly clamped around my throat before cutting me off. Yeah, we're having omelets today, right, Kai? I saw Eliza shed a single tear as she watched her pancake-filled dreams wistfully fly off while Olivia sat down at a simple wooden dining table and crossed her arms in anticipation. Well, I'll let you off the hook this one time, I guess. Hey, Olivia, you always say that you'd let her off the hook this time, but during my entire time here, I've never seen you once, ever, punish her. Is that exactly why she's so lazy? Well, at least it looks like today's normal, like usual. Just another lazy summer day with nothing happening. But, sometimes days like these aren't so bad. All right, again, today's breakfast will be omelets. I sighed before grabbing my personal apron from the hanger nearby. Now, I may not look it, but I can assure you I am an accomplished chef. Food is one of the most important things in life. One of the 3 basic human necessities. And as a single bachelor for over a millennium, I've had to learn personally how important it is to be able to cook. The art of cooking is one that relies on experience, knowledge, and most importantly, heart. I've been cooking food for far longer than any mortal chef out there, so there is no problem with my experience and knowledge. But without a doubt, heart is my greatest strength. In fact, I'm already getting fired up just hearing the growls from the stomachs behind me. Looks like Kai's getting passionate again. Guess today's omelets will be even better than usual. Olivia sat at the table behind me with an even greater anticipation as Eliza deflated into the table with a sigh while listlessly staring out the window at the beautiful blue sky outside. They say your cooking still grows exponentially along with your time being single. And if being single for 30 years means you became a wizard, then, although I can't use mana anymore, I have ascended beyond even the greatest of archwizards. In fact, my chef level can't even be read with a scouter anymore. It is one of my few prides left in this world, that the only one out there better at cooking than me is the god of cooking himself, and maybe a few of his heroic spirit subordinates that I've acknowledged as fellow chefs. So do you hear it in my old friend? The cries of everyone behind us to win, their screams that they believe in us. I've already donned my sacred armor, apron. It's all that's left is the fight. This spatula will be the spatula that pierces the heavens. Come, Excalibur. Together we will conquer the real battlefield. It is time to head off to the kitchen.